Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. And today we're going to be taking a look at AI and creativity.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. We got a ton of different sources here, everything from like articles, research papers. You even send over some company websites about artists and musicians and writers using AI.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how these different fields are starting to really embrace this technology.
Yeah, just even looking at the titles of some of this stuff, like AI composing symphonies?
Yeah.
Like what?
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's not just simple melodies or anything. We're talking full-on symphonies.
Yeah, and then, generating art from text prompts.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a whole other
rabbit hole.
Yeah. And that's actually a really good example of what we call generative AI.
Okay.
Which is, it's not about just copying existing work.
Okay.
It's about algorithms.
Right.
Learning patterns and structures from massive data sets of creative content.
So can we compare it to it's almost like teaching a computer.
Yeah.
What makes a Van Gogh a Van Gogh?
Yeah.
But then letting it paint something new?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like extracting the essence of a particular style or genre.
Right.
And then using that to generate something completely original.
Okay.
And one example of that I think is really fascinating is OpenAI's Jukebox.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of this one?
Yeah, I saw that on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been trained on this massive data set of music.
Right.
And it can compose songs in all sorts of different styles.
Wow.
Even mimicking the voices of famous singers. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, is it good? Is it
I mean, it depends on your definition of good.
Sure.
But it's definitely impressive.
Okay.
It's getting to the point where it's hard to distinguish from a human composer in some cases.
And then I think you mentioned this one too, Google's Magenta project.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing AI-generated art.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing some really cool stuff with AI-generated art.
Yeah.
That actually interacts with viewers. So it's not just a static image.
Right.
It's responsive and evolving.
Oh, I saw a demo of that. It was these abstract visuals that were just kind of hypnotic.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, based on what we're seeing, it's not about AI replacing human creativity. It's more about it becoming a partner.
Right.
In the process.
Exactly. Yeah, like a collaborator.
Okay.
It's about augmenting human capabilities.
Yeah.
Giving artists and creators new tools.
Right.
To explore ideas and express themselves in ways they couldn't before.
Yeah, and I think this is where something like Open Fabric comes in.
Right.
I know you mentioned that platform.
Yeah, Open Fabric is a great example of how AI is making these tools more accessible.
Okay.
Because their platform lets anyone experiment with AI-generated art music, even memes.
Really?
Regardless of their technical skills.
Yeah. So someone who's never picked up a paintbrush or played an instrument.
Right.
Could potentially create something.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's what's so exciting about it.
Yeah.
Is that it's really opening up these new avenues for self-expression and innovation.
So how does this work? How does an AI generate an image?
Yeah, that's the big question.
A text prompt.
Right. It seems like magic, but there was a lot of complex math involved.
Sure.
But one way to kind of visualize it is through this concept of the latent space.
Latent space.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this?
I've seen it mentioned, but I'm not sure I fully understand it.
Okay, so imagine this multi-dimensional space.
Okay.
Where all these concepts and ideas exist.
Okay.
Even the ones we don't have words for.
Right.
It's this giant map of all possible creative outputs.
So any concept, any style, anything is in this latent space.
Right.
And the AI just knows where to find it.
Yeah, and when you enter a text prompt.
Right.
You're basically giving the AI directions on that map.
You're guiding it to the specific combination of elements that represent your idea.
So if I were to type in, a cat wearing a top hat riding a unicorn through a rainbow galaxy.
Right.
The AI knows where to find the cat, the top hat, the unicorn, the galaxy, and put it all together.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the AI is searching through this vast library of visual concepts and pulling out the specific ingredients needed to create your unique recipe.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is.
So how does this actually go from that to a tangible image?
Right. So that's where the diffusion process comes in.
Okay.
Which is kind of starting with this blurry, noisy image.
Okay.
And then slowly refining it step by step.
Okay.
Until it matches the prompt you gave it.
So it starts with something completely random.
Yeah.
And then kind of shapes it into what you told it to.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that even with the same prompt,
right,
the diffusion process can produce slightly different results each time.
Oh.
Because there's this element of randomness built into it.
So it's not just like a one-to-one
Right.
input-output.
It's not deterministic. Okay. There's this kind of like human-like unpredictable quality to it.
It's like AI is capturing that serendipitous element.
Right.
That we usually attribute to humans.
Exactly.
I mean, this is really incredible stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But, I mean, it makes you wonder, where is all this data coming from?
That's a great question.
And, what about the copyright issues?
Yeah, those are all really important questions, and they're at the heart of a lot of the conversations happening around this technology right now.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we should definitely explore further.
Absolutely.
But before we dive into that,
yeah,
I mean, it's crazy how fast this field is evolving, right?
Oh, it's moving at lightning speed. New models are being developed. New platforms are emerging. It's almost impossible to predict where this will go in the next few years.
Yeah, well, for our listeners out there who are creatives or even just curious about the future of art and technology, what's the one thing they should keep in mind as we continue this deep dive?
I think the most important thing is to approach this technology with a sense of curiosity and open-mindedness. Don't be afraid to experiment, to play around with these tools to see what's possible, because AI is not here to replace human creativity. It's here to augment it, to expand our horizons, and to open up new possibilities for self-expression and innovation.
I love that. So let's dive into some of those possibilities.
Yeah.
What are some specific examples of how AI is already being used in the creative world, and what can we learn from them?
Well, there are a few platforms that are really making waves in this space. For instance, there's OpenAI's DALL-E 2, which has been generating a ton of buzz. You give it a text prompt, no matter how outlandish, and it can create a stunningly realistic or surreal image based on your description.
Oh, yeah, like that bowl of soup that looks like a monster.
Yes, exactly.
One that everyone thought was like a real photo.
That's the one. It really shows how these AI image generators are blurring the lines between like reality and imagination. DL itself isn't publicly available yet,
right? But
there are similar platforms like Midjourney.
Okay.
And it has a huge online community where people are constantly experimenting and sharing their AI-generated art.
So it's really becoming like a collaborative space.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's really cool.
Just pushing the boundaries of visual creativity.
So we've got these powerful AI image generators, and then we have like the more specialized tools from open fabrics like Art Fabric and Sound Fabric,
right,
which are more, I guess, tailored towards like individual creative exploration.
Yeah, Open Fabric is really focusing on accessibility and ease of use,
Okay.
Their tools are designed to let anyone, regardless of their technical skills, tap into the creative potential of AI.
Right.
So with Art Fabric, you can create these really unique digital art pieces from text prompts.
Right.
And with Sound Fabric, you can even compose original music.
Wow. So you could be like, hey, AI, create a soundtrack for a sci-fi movie set on Mars.
Exactly. And it'll generate a custom piece for you. It's like having this whole team of virtual collaborators at your fingertips. Composers, illustrators, graphic designers.
All powered by AI.
It's pretty amazing.
So we talked about some of these platforms and tools. Let's go back to the tech itself.
Okay.
You mentioned these diffusion models.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a bit more? Like what makes them so unique?
Sure. Diffusion models are a really fascinating approach to AI image generation because instead of starting with a pre-existing image or a template, they begin with pure visual noise, almost like static on a TV screen.
Oh, wow.
And then guided by the text prompt.
Right.
The AI gradually removes the noise step by step until a coherent image kind of emerges.
So it's like sculpting the image out of chaos.
Exactly. It's a really cool process.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And the really cool thing is that the same prompt can produce slightly different results each time because there's that element of randomness built into the diffusion process.
Oh, so it's not deterministic.
Right. It's like how two human artists might interpret the same scene in slightly different ways.
Okay.
So there's that inherent variability that's part of what makes AI art so intriguing.
It's like it's capturing that unpredictable serendipitous element that we associate with human creativity.
Exactly.
But if these models are trained on massive data sets of existing artwork, does that mean that they could potentially replicate any biases or limitations that are present in that data?
That's a really important point. The data sets used to train these AI models are absolutely crucial. It's like education. If you learn from biased or incomplete sources, your understanding of the world will be skewed. And the same applies to AI.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. So if a model is trained on a data set that's not diverse or representative, it can reflect those biases in its output.
So it's not just about the tech itself. It's also about being mindful of the data that's feeding it.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important to have these conversations about responsible AI development. We need to think critically about the data we use, the potential biases it might contain, and how we can mitigate those biases to ensure that AI is used for good. Right.
And doesn't perpetuate harmful stereotypes or inequalities.
Exactly.
Now, with all this talk about AI and creativity,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to think about the impact on the art world as we know it.
Right.
I mean, some people are excited, some people are worried.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that sparks a lot of debate.
Yeah.
Some artists see AI as a threat, something that could devalue human creativity or
Right.
even lead to job displacement. But others see it as a tool,
Right.
a collaborator, a way to enhance and expand their creative potential.
I was reading an article about a photographer
Yeah.
who was initially skeptical of AI,
Okay.
but then he started experimenting with it. And he said it actually inspired him
Interesting.
to create work that he wouldn't have considered before.
Yeah.
It was like AI was pushing him outside of his comfort zone.
Right. It can challenge our assumptions.
Yeah.
Open up new perspectives and help us break free from those creative routines.
So instead of fearing AI, maybe it's more about adapting to it,
Yeah.
finding ways to incorporate it into our process and seeing where it leads us.
Absolutely. It's about embracing those possibilities while also being mindful of the potential challenges, because AI is not going away. It's here to stay. And the way we choose to engage with it will shape the future of creativity.
So this brings us to a question. What does this mean for the future of artistic expression?
Right.
What does the creative landscape look like in a world where AI plays such a big role?
It's a question that's hard to answer definitively, but I think it's safe to say that the lines between human and machine creativity will continue to blur.
Yep.
We'll see new forms of art emerge, new collaborations between humans and AI, and new ways of experiencing and interacting with creative works.
I saw a demo recently of an AI system
Oh, yeah.
that could generate entire virtual worlds
Wow.
based on text descriptions.
That's incredible.
Imagine being able to step inside a painting or a song
Yeah.
and explore its world.
It's like those boundaries between reality and imagination are dissolving. We're moving towards a future where art isn't just something we observe passively.
Right.
It's something that we can actively participate in and shape.
And AI is helping to make that happen.
It is.
It's exciting, but it's also a bit daunting
It
to
is.
think about all the possibilities.
Yeah.
Where do you see this going in the next few years? Like, what trends are you most excited about?
One area I'm really interested in is the development of AI systems that can not only generate creative content, but also understand and respond to human emotions.
Oh, wow.
So imagine an AI composer that can create music that adapts to your mood in real time,
Really?
or an AI artist that can generate art that evokes specific feelings.
That's wild. It's like AI is becoming this intuitive,
Yeah.
empathetic, creative partner
Right.
able to tap into our inner world.
Yeah, it's an area with a lot of potential, and it raises all sorts of interesting questions about the nature of creativity, the role of emotion in art, and the evolving relationship between humans and machines.
So as we move further into this uncharted territory of AI and creativity, how do we ensure that we're using this technology responsibly and ethically?
Yeah, that's a big question.
What are some of the key considerations we need to keep in mind?
Well, for one thing, we need to be mindful of the potential for bias. We've talked about the importance of using diverse and representative data sets to train these AI models.
Right, because if the data is skewed, the AI's output will likely reflect those biases and could perpetuate harmful stereotypes or reinforce existing inequalities.
Exactly. It's like teaching a child with outdated textbooks. They might learn inaccurate or incomplete information.
Yeah, and as AI becomes more integrated into the creative process, we need to be vigilant about making sure it's not used to create or spread harmful content,
Absolutely.
like deepfakes and stuff like that.
Right, that's a real concern. We need to develop safeguards and ethical guidelines to prevent the misuse of AI for things like propaganda, disinformation, or harassment.
So it sounds like there's a real need for collaboration
Yeah.
between technologists, ethicists, and creatives.
Absolutely. This isn't just a technical challenge, it's a societal one. We need to have these open and honest conversations about the potential benefits and risks of AI and work together to create a future where this technology is used to empower individuals, foster creativity, and promote a more just and equitable world.
Okay, so we talked about the potential of AI.
Yeah.
What about the flip side? What are some of the potential downsides or challenges?
Yeah, that's important to consider too.
Yeah.
Well, one concern that's often raised is the potential for job displacement. as AI becomes more sophisticated, it's possible that it could automate certain tasks that are currently done by human creatives.
So like AI writing scripts or composing music or designing websites.
Right. It's a possibility we need to consider, but I think it's more likely that AI will augment human creativity rather than replace it entirely.
So instead of thinking of it as a competitor, we should see it as a collaborator,
Exactly.
a tool that can help us work more efficiently, explore new ideas, push the boundaries of our creative potential.
Right. It's like how the invention of the camera didn't make painters obsolete. It just changed the way we create and consume art.
Yeah.
And similarly, AI is likely to transform the creative landscape, but it won't eliminate the need for human creativity.
It's all about adaptation.
Right.
And finding ways to leverage the strengths of both human and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
But beyond job displacement, are there other potential pitfalls?
Well, one concern is the potential for AI-generated content to become homogenized or formulaic. If everyone is using the same AI tools and data sets, could we see a decline in originality and diversity of creative expression?
Right. It's like if you give everyone the same ingredients, they'll all bake the same cake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Could we end up in a world where everything starts to look and sound the same? Because it's all been generated by the same algorithms.
Right.
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
But I think we can mitigate that risk by encouraging experimentation, diversity of data sets, and a continued emphasis on human creativity and ingenuity.
So instead of simply relying on AI to churn out content, we need to use it as a springboard for our own unique ideas and expressions.
Exactly. It's about using AI as a tool to amplify our creativity, not to replace it. And as we move forward, it's crucial to have those open and honest conversations about the potential impact of this technology on the art world, on society as a whole, and on our own understanding of what it means to be creative.
Now let's talk about some of the specific AI tools and platforms that are already having a major impact on the creative landscape.
One platform that's generating a lot of excitement is...
Which platform are you talking about?
It's called AIVA. It stands for Artificial Intelligence Virtual Artist.
Okay.
And it's designed specifically for composing music.
I think I saw that one on the list.
Yeah. It's being used by everyone from indie filmmakers to video game developers.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something about it being used to score a ballet.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
So what makes it different from like the other AI music tools we've talked about?
Well, AIVA is really interesting because it's focused on creating emotionally evocative music. You can actually feed it existing music that conveys a certain mood or style, and it learns from that to generate original compositions that have a similar feel.
So if I wanted to create like a soundtrack for a romantic comedy,
right,
I could feed it a bunch of like classic rom-com soundtracks.
Exactly.
And it would be able to come up with something.
It could compose something new that captures that same kind of lighthearted romantic vibe.
That's pretty amazing.
It's like having a personal film composer who can tap into the emotional nuances of different genres.
Okay, but what about the visual side of things? Are there other AI art platforms besides like Delhi and Midjourney that are worth checking out?
Definitely one that's gained a lot of traction is Stable Diffusion.
Stable Diffusion.
Yeah, have you heard of that one?
I've heard the name, but I don't really know much about it.
Okay, so Stable Diffusion is an open source model, which means that anyone can use it and modify it.
Okay.
And that's led to this just like explosion of creativity and innovation.
Oh, so it's like the Wikipedia of AI art generators.
That's a great way to think about it.
Like anyone can contribute.
Anyone can contribute and build upon it.
Why?
And because of its open nature, people have been developing all sorts of interesting plugins and extensions for Stable Diffusion.
Oh, wow.
That allow you to do things like generate images in specific artistic styles or create seamless loops and animations.
So it's not just a static image generator. It's like a whole animation studio.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
I mean, this field is moving so fast, it's hard to keep up.
It is. It's moving at lightning speed, and it's not just the technology itself. It's the way that people are using it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing artists, musicians, writers, filmmakers all experimenting with AI in these really creative ways that are blurring the lines between what's human-made and what's machine-made.
It's like AI is becoming its own medium.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And as these tools become more powerful and more accessible, who knows what kind of incredible art and innovations we'll see in the years to come.
It's both exciting and a little bit intimidating.
It is, yeah.
To think about.
It's a brave new world.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AI and creativity, what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to leave with?
I hope they come away with a sense of wonder and possibility. AI is not a threat to creativity, it's a catalyst. It's a tool that can help us unlock new levels of creative expression, explore those uncharted territories, and maybe even redefine what it means to be creative in the first place.
It's about embracing the unknown,
Mm.
experimenting with these new tools, and seeing where our imagination takes us.
Exactly. The future of creativity is wide open.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. We covered a lot of ground today, everything from the technical inner workings of AI to the philosophical questions about the nature of creativity.
It has been a fascinating conversation.
It really has. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on the incredible ways that AI is shaping the world of art, music, and creativity.
Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep creating the future is waiting to be shaped by your imagination.
That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic. So stay curious. And until then, happy creating a